This episode of Says Who is brought to you by you. That's right, you, the person listening to this, the person that gives at patreon.com/sayswho. That's the place where every Sunday you get this all over again. You get me and Maureen doing a little thing we call the Town Watch. It's most every Sunday. It's not every Sunday, but it is most every Sunday. And this coming Sunday, you get part 2 of our discussion about accessorizing Stanley Cups.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the most important discussion we've ever had.
Yep.
Certainly the only discussion that we've ever dedicated 2 entire episodes to.
Yeah.
Rudely interrupted by our very first video episode, which was us watching the debate together.
Just staring.
So you get that too. All of that is yours if you give it the $5 or $10 a month level. That $10 a month level gets you a sticker in the mail every month because you become a member of the Says Who Sticker Club. And I will say that I just sent off this month's sticker to the production place, and it's another banger. So just the hits keep coming.
Nailing it every time.
Patreon.com/sayswho.
Hey, St. Louis.
Whoa.
I can announce. Hey, remember how I was supposed to come there and then I got COVID?
I do. I remember that.
New date at the Novel Neighbor. Monday, September 30th. I will be at the Novel Neighbor in St. Louis. And I'm excited about that. And to anyone who's read Death at Morning House or any of my books, I just want to say, when you leave any kind of review, when you put it up on Instagram, put it up on TikTok, anything, you actually change the trajectory of books. So like, thank you for doing that. If you have, am I asking for it? I didn't mean to. And I think it's coming off like that. I'm just saying that I just want you to know that those things actually change the trajectory of books.
Yeah.
And how they do in the world. So thank you for everybody that's ever done any of those, and hope that you enjoy it. And if you haven't enjoyed it yet, that's all right.
Let me tell you something, Maureen.
Yeah.
As we have well established, I don't have the greatest eyes in the world.
Okay.
And by the end of the day, them shits barely work.
Them shits barely work?
Yeah. And so it takes me a long time to work through recreational books. But I have crossed the halfway threshold in Death at Morning House now, and it is fantastic.
Is it all right?
I am enjoying this book thoroughly and heartily, despite the fact that my eyes will really only let me read about 4 pages a day. But I'm loving it. This is a fantastic book, folks.
And I finished a book last night, which is this
Look at you.
dossier. It's not a novel. It's a dossier murder mystery that I've been working on with my artist friend Jay for months and months and months. And we turned it in. We turned it in at 9 p.m. on Sunday night. And I kept stopping. I haven't really had any days off. Maybe when I was in the UK in July, I still did some work each day, but and that was family visiting, but I haven't had days off for several months.
Yeah.
This is a serious question. What are days off? What counts?
I would say a real day off, of which if a person is measuring by this measure, I've had very few of those in a very long time. But a real day off is a day that you don't move any work balls forward. You just move Maureen balls forward.
So a day off can be cleaning the house or
Sure.
Okay.
I think that's a valid day off.
Okay. All right. Because I'm spending 2 weeks just it is cleaning out. It's answering emails, getting through. There's a ton of stuff that has been I'm I've said, I'll get back to you as soon as I get this in.
Right.
And now
it's in,
which means that it's imagine a cloud of ravens at my window, just all peering in, little black beady eyes going, "We're here. Oh, you said to come when the book was in, and here we are." And then there's a crack of thunder, and then we're all, let us in, Maureen. We're all the things you said you would do now. Let us in. And they start tapping at my window, their little beaks. And I'm like, no, No, I'm not letting you in. But the window, she's starting to crack, Dan. Little spider crack. Let us in. Let us in. We tap at your window. We crack your window. We crack your window.
All right. Well, that was a long discussion about books. And if you would like to order books on the internet, you can always feel free to go to kickbezosintheballs.org. That's our own little bookshelf. Our own little bookshop. I said
okay?
shelf.
Yep.
It's our own little bookshelf.
What's a shelf, Dan?
You know, it's like a shop and a shelf.
Okay.
Why not? Anyway, that's over at kickbezosintheballs.org. You can always buy Says Who merchandise at merch.sayswhopodcast.com. You can buy some stuff from me, patches, at shop.dansinker.com. But mostly, if you are on this thing that we call the internet and you are looking around, I would love you to look for Rebel Spirit, the podcast.
So good.
That I am producing with our good friend Akilah Hughes.
Life-changingly good? Yes.
Yes. It is extraordinary.
It is.
I am not great at self-promotion, but boy, this one's fucking something special. Check it out. The 3rd episode just came out. It is another barn burner. The 3rd episode, it's very hard. All of them are great, but episodes 1, 2, and 3 are sort of a little arc, and boy, do they work great. Anyway, that is available on all podcast apps. I almost said it is applications, okay? Isn't it? No, I'm not, I guess. Sure. Anyway, that is available wherever you get your podcasts. But if you want to get it from Apple Podcasts, you can just go to the browse window because it is right up there because it is an editor's choice this week, which is fantastic.
Fuck yeah.
Anyway, go grab that thing, listen to it, tell your pals, because that's how this shit works. Similar to what Maureen was saying about books. Leave reviews, tell other people. Everything that we all do now is all word of mouth. There ain't nobody but us anymore. So do the stuff.
Well, let us in. All right, everyone. All right. He's going to be here. He's coming. Okay, I see him outside. Okay, everybody. Shh. Ready? Here he is. He's going to open the door any second.
Oh.
Hey!
What?
Balloon drop. What? Drop balloons. Yay!
Oh, why are there balloons? What is going on? Why are all these people here?
It's our party.
What?
It's our ninth birthday.
No.
Yay!
No.
Come on, everybody. Come on.
It's
Happy birthday to us. We can't get off this bus. 8 episodes later. Oh, fuck. Oh, we're still here. I didn't have a rhyme to close that out.
It's fine.
So I have to keep going. Oh, shit. That wasn't rhymed either. Let's go around again. It's our birthday number 9, and that doesn't seem fine.
Doesn't.
I don't understand time.
Oh, there you go. Now you're hitting it.
Let's go number 9. See, I had a...
Yeah, I like that.
I sing without planning.
You know what? You do a damn fine job of it.
I didn't have the rhyme ready. I had to keep going in circles and circles.
It's okay.
I had to keep driving around the block.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes you got to drive the block till you find the right space.
That's been us for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
9 years of driving around the block. Oh, the eyebrows went all the way up. Welcome to Says Who, the 9th anniversary edition. That's not a podcast.
It's a coping strategy. I am Dan Sinker.
Number 9. I'm Maureen Johnson. Number 9.
The thing is, Maureen,
what?
This podcast was supposed to be 8 episodes long. The
and now
final
it's 9.
8 weeks leading up to the 2016 election.
What's a 2016?
An election so long ago now that I have to actually pause and think about what the number was.
It's like history now, Dan.
To just round things out, well, it's supposed to be 8 episodes long. We have overshot that today by precisely 340 episodes, because today is our 348th episode.
Just driving around the block.
Just a lot.
Here we are 9 years later, and he's still running.
Yeah, that's a good point.
9 years later, and he's still running for office. He's crazier than ever. He's not doing well. Nope. 9 years later, he's still running for office, and we're trapped in this ever-going hell.
Hey!
Yeah, I've got it.
You did it. You
firing
did that
on
one.
some cylinders.
You were good. That was good. You had it. That was excellent.
Well, Dan, I feel, it's a... Dan?
Yeah?
As of Sunday night, I hit the button and launched a book draft.
Yeah, you did.
Which means that I have completed the circuit of stuff that kind of, I don't know, it's a whole circuit of stuff. I haven't really stopped going for quite some time. But this is, I hit the button, I launched, and now I'm resetting.
Yeah.
All new. I mean, while that book will come back and copy edit.
Yeah.
And while I am still doing a lot of stuff related to Death at Morning House.
Yeah.
And while I'm actually doing other stuff still related to other stuff that's still.
Yeah.
This is the reset.
Okay.
This is when I start the new book.
Is this when you start the new you?
Yeah, it is actually.
I like the idea that you're like, this is a hard reset, and everyone's like, oh, that's great. We're glad that she's doing new stuff. And then what you actually mean is like your next book is hard sci-fi or something. Like just completely out of left field.
I'm writing a medical textbook.
There you go. That's good.
It's all new.
Good money in that shit.
And a new and research on an even different new book. I mean, the whole thing.
Okay.
But like setting up a schedule for life, fitness, like stuff, like a plan.
That's great.
A plan as opposed to rolling down a hill.
I will point out, as I was talking about Maureen launching a new you, she reached over and grabbed that very large planner that she has flashed many times this year.
Yep.
Is this the time it's really happening?
Yeah, it's really happening now.
This time is the real one?
This is the real thing, Dan.
This is it.
Dan, I've learned. I'm going to make changes.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing? I need therapy for this.
Okay.
Dan?
Yeah.
Every day I wake up and I give myself a good half hour of good self-loathing time.
Self-loathing time. Yeah. Okay.
And here's it's specifically stemming from two things.
Okay.
Anyone I think I've wronged. Like, I'm like, have I not done something for something? Like, have I kind of failed in some way personally? So that's important. We all, just do that. But also that I'm not on, say, social media in the right ways enough. And I know there's a lot of pressure to do that. But I'm like, I'm so busy trying to write that I haven't had time to do all these other things. Yeah. But it's the ravens at the window, Dan. Right. That's it. And it feels like I personally am failing. It's me. I'm personally failing.
It's not you.
Isn't it? It's just too much in general.
There's a lot. This is my latest theory on the current state of social media, which is it's done. The world hasn't caught up to it yet, right? But like the world, like what we have now, which is the platform of Twitter that still exists but is awful and really nobody should be on it. Then you have a whole series of other options that none of which you can just be on itself, which means you kind of have to be on all of them. You have Instagram, which has been just absolutely meddling with its algorithms in such a way that seem to actively disincentivize real engagement with it anymore. And you have TikTok, which is still doing well, but also feels like maybe it's kind of coming over its peak.
Also,
and nothing's coming to replace it.
Is it going to be banned?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of questions around its future.
I would doubt it.
I would highly doubt that it will be banned.
I hope for everybody's sake it's not, for people to enjoy it. Me personally, I'm just like, ban it. I could take it on my to-do list.
Yeah, but we have reached a point now where all of this shit is just to-do lists, right? Yes. And that is not sustainable. And that is not a thing that it's diminishing returns at this point. And the problem is that nothing has replaced it, and likely nothing that looks like this, at least, is going to replace it.
Yeah, something will be there. It's just, what does it look like?
Yeah, and no, I don't think there's anyone that can really tell you what it's going to look like, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to look like Twitter-shaped objects anymore, and which is fine in the long run and sucks to be somebody making shit in the short run, because it's very difficult to get the word out.
I think it's important to know what you don't want to do. And to that end, I'd like to tell you, so sometimes I listen to a lot of podcasts, but sometimes I also use the Netflix app and just listen to that, like while I'm cooking.
Like listen to a TV show?
Yeah, and I can kind of glance over. I can just set my phone up and just, if I want to see what the picture is, I can kind of glance over.
Yeah.
And I've run through a bunch of stuff that I was like, I already wanted to see, but then it's starting to suggest stuff to me. And it offered up the Apollo, a documentary with footage about the Apollo 13 mission.
Okay.
And Apollo 13 is the one, I always thought the one where the fire in the cockpit was 13, but that's not it. Apollo 13 is the one where they get up into space, and that, I think, first night, something explodes on the ship. So they successfully launched. They're up. They're like, here we go. We're going to the moon. They were going to walk on the moon. They get up there, and something goes.
Yeah.
And that's the famous quote of, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
And Houston's like, what's that?
This is the Tom Hanks movie, right?
I've never seen it.
Okay. I'm pretty sure this is the Tom Hanks movie.
I think so. And they go, and Houston's like, so what was that? Did you say what? And they're like, Houston, something just exploded. We seem to have zero oxygen. What are we going to do? And from that point on, they're not going to the moon. But what they have to do is using just shit on hand.
Yeah.
Including, I believe, socks. They have to use math and socks.
Yeah.
To figure out how to float around the moon and use various, physics tricks. They get one shot, I think, or two shots at firing up, and they have to slingshot themselves back to Earth.
Yeah.
Cross their fingers.
Sure.
That their heat shield, if they make it that far, and they've only got one shot, that the math is right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they are going to float into space.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
If they don't do the math problem right.
Yeah.
They do the math problem right. They start heading back. If the heat shields fail, then they are crispy. That's it.
Yeah.
So you're in this tin can that's dripping water. You're plugging stuff with socks. They've all got fevers. Like, they're all sick.
Yeah.
It's freezing. Now it's super. Then they will drop into the ocean.
Right.
Dan, I refer to this documentary as space yikes, because everything in it is yikes. It's space yikes.
Okay.
And boy, do I not want to go to space. I've never wanted to go to space.
Oh, okay.
It's just one of those things where people are like, I want to go to space. And I say, fuck no. And it's important to know what you don't want. Every day that I haven't been shot into space is a good day as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, this is an achievable avoidance for you.
I feel like
good news is that
every day
eminently achievable avoidance.
It's give yourself a guaranteed win.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you are nailing it every single day.
And I feel like with that and every aspect of the too many things we're being asked to look at, consume, and buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at this point, the media feels less social and more. There are pockets of goodness, but the parts that get me is that it's so about capitalism, so about buying shit.
Yeah.
which is why I'm obsessed with Stanley Cup videos. And that is why the only TikTok I should really be making are Stanley Cup and similar reaction videos.
I mean,
it is my passion.
You would get a lot of suction on that.
I'm not interested in that. I'm simply interested
but I'm saying it would happen anyway.
In making the thing that is closest to my heart.
I think you should follow your dreams, Maureen.
I need to be back on my bullshit, Dan.
There is a lot of bullshit. Maureen sent me 2 more.
Yeah.
This time. The real buried lead on one of them is that the person had a like countertop slushy machine.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know existed. One of the things about my house, which is very small, is our kitchen is extremely small.
Right.
And so countertop, we have, I don't know, maybe 5 feet total of countertop, maybe less. And so things are you really have to compete to be something that appears on a counter at our house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't spend a lot of time looking at countertop kitchen innovations because we can't get them all. But my jaw dropped when I saw the countertop slushy machine.
Yeah. You can put anything
just have
in there.
A slushy anytime you want.
Of anything.
Yeah.
There was one recently where they put in the sleeve so you can have the 2 drinks at once.
Okay.
And they put in a Red Bull on one side and a White Claw on the other.
Okay.
And I said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, she's going to have a White Claw.
Yeah.
And a Red Bull.
Yeah.
Shit's about to pop off at Costco.
She's ready.
Yeah. Can you imagine someone with 10,000 things dangling off their Stanley Cup on a dedicated strap, just full of Red Bull and White Claw, which I think is called Red Claw, having a Red Claw at the Joann's Fabrics, just shit is happening.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in the way of that.
No, you don't.
I'm just saying, take care of yourselves, everyone, because there's too much. And that's the reason your brain feels like it's making a little fizzing sound.
Yeah, it is a lot. There's a lot right now. Speaking of a lot, Maureen, we did our very first video episode for the Town Watch where we watched.
You look like you were coming in from the International Space Station. I
had a lot of technical issues, and I feel terrible about that.
No, it was the blue light.
I know, but that was due to the fact, well, I'm not entirely sure why it was so blue, but had I taken a moment to think, I could have had some lighting on me instead of sort of a dark basement that made me very blue. The biggest mistake that I made that I still haven't forgiven myself for.
Forgive yourself.
Is in hooking things up, I mistakenly didn't notice that the camera that I had moved over had taken over the microphone slot. And so I spent 3 hours speaking into a microphone that was not picking up. It was like a little fake microphone. And so instead I kind of sounded like I was on a speakerphone the whole time, which everyone has assured me was fine. But Maureen, I hate it.
I know you do.
I hate it.
I know.
Do not like sounding like shit.
That's not good for the Dan.
No, made me very upset. But I did enjoy. So I went the extra mile with this because I was very concerned as we were recording that we were recording video, but really all that video was us sort of staring slightly off axis, watching a thing and very rarely actually reacting to it. So I actually put the debate in and synced it up to us as best we could.
Oh, wow.
You and I were slightly off sync, but the video has the debate, fades in. My favorite part, this was going the extra mile, because I had grabbed the debate video off of another source, and they had their little logo in the upper corner. So I put the Town Watch logo in on top of theirs. So you can literally watch the debate and watch us watching the debate at the same time.
Amazing.
Yeah, it worked out.
You're so good at everything.
I mean, except apparently noticing that my microphone wasn't on.
Will you run my life for me?
Sure.
I'm actually pretty good at managing projects, though, Dan. I will tell you.
Yeah, you're good. You would not have the success and the volume with which you have produced if you were not good at managing projects.
I'm good at things like I booked our tickets and stuff. Like I'm good at getting a good travel deal. Like I'm very like, scrupulous about.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm good at stuff.
You're on it. You're good at stuff.
I'm good at things.
You are.
I'm good at things.
You're very good at things.
I'm really good at things.
I mean, you are. That's all.
I've been looking at new planners for next year.
Good.
And there's a new one. Really caught my eye.
What is it?
It's cheap and simple. It's called like Standard Planner or something.
Okay.
It's just pretty plain. And I'm just looking. I'm just looking down.
The thing that's funny to me about your planner system, and I'm gonna just quickly step away to get a visual aid here.
Okay. He's gonna bring out. What is he gonna? He's gonna bring out a notebook, isn't he? He's gonna bring out a notebook. I got one just like it. I'm about to tell him I have one just like it. Then I'll show it to him. Unless he's gonna come back with a big hat or something. He's gonna come back in a big hat. No, he didn't. No hat. Be great if he came back in a big hat. Big giant.
All right. I purposefully walked in a way that you couldn't see the visual aid.
All right.
You have spent years now hunting for the best planner system.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I have stuck with the same planner system for 4 years now.
Yeah.
4.5 years. There they all are. I've kept them. I'm not sure why I've kept them. This weighs a lot.
See,
now.
This is all I really use anyway.
Right.
So why should I get a new one? I won't.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
I'm not going to get a new one. I'm going to use my notebook.
Yeah.
That's all I use.
Yeah. Just stick with the simple system.
It's pretty though. I mean, like it's very simple. That's the thing about it is the new planner is very simple.
Yeah. But I feel like your system works.
It does work, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just stick with the system that works.
Yeah.
This year, one of my I've talked about my planner system before, which is it's essentially sort of a to-do list that then turns into a reflection on the day, right? And for the last few years, I have, without referencing, so I rarely actually land correctly, the reflection of the day I number with the number of the day of it is in the year, right? So like now we're at like 250 something, right? And this year I decided I would write that out in cursive because I don't write cursive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have every night I get a little cursive test too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know.
All right. I'm going to make a pledge not to buy the new planner. I'm just going to use what I use.
All right. Just use your system. Your system works for you. You don't need to adopt other people's systems.
It's not even a system, Dad. It's more than the thing I like about it is that it has a big month calendar in it. That's really the only thing I'm after.
But couldn't you just get a calendar and put it on your wall?
I do have that.
Okay. Then I think maybe you're looking at a redundant system and that's the issue.
First of all, how dare you?
Okay.
Second of all, how dare you?
All right. I dare. Anyway, Maureen Johnson.
What?
We should probably talk about the fact that somebody tried to assassinate Donald Trump again.
I'd let you know that by text.
You did. Yeah, I was at where was I? I was at a youth soccer game, I believe, when the text came in.
Were you surprised?
I was very surprised. In fact, my first reaction was, oh, weird. I got an old text from Maureen. And then I realized that that's not how anything works. Right. And that it was a new text.
Yeah.
I was very surprised.
Yes, someone tried to assassinate Trump again. They didn't get very far. Well, they got far enough.
I mean, they got pretty far.
I mean, they didn't shoot at him.
No. They hung out in a bush at his golf course for 12 hours. And just before he came to that hole, he got noticed.
So I mean, okay. Doesn't that seem not great?
It doesn't seem great for a lot of reasons.
Right.
Like, I think it's generally not a great place to be as a society that, somebody's tried to kill a presidential candidate twice in 2 months.
Right.
Thinking that's not great. But also it feels very much like where we are as a society, which is not a great place. But specifically, the thing that is wild about this one is that it versus the first one, and maybe this is the difference between a shot actually being let off and not. I don't know. Maybe that's just the line that we draw now. But no one seems to care.
Yeah, no one seems to care.
Like, everyone was just sort of like, lol, okay. Imagine being such a terrible person that that's the reaction to the second time somebody tries to kill you. Even he's like that.
Yes. He said something like, I just am sad I didn't make the hole.
Yeah, like I couldn't finish my putt or whatever.
Yeah, he said, what he said was, I'm just sorry I missed the hole. I didn't get to make the hole. Because, Dan, I wrote a joke immediately that I could not say.
Yeah.
I don't think I should say it here.
Okay.
I wish I could.
You sent it to me. It was a good joke.
Yeah.
I'll vouch for it.
Yeah.
I'll vouch for your joke.
But Dan, we're a kind of country where you have Donald Trump is running for president the third time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of campaigning, the election is pretty soon, Dan.
It's real soon.
It's really soon.
In fact, it is underway in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Will soon be underway other places, including here in Illinois. Like, the election has started. The election part of this process has begun.
But this is the point where he's really supposed to be campaigning.
Yes.
And he's golfing.
Yep. Yeah, you know.
And he's wandering around, and the Secret Service, I guess, just didn't check to see if there was anyone hiding in a bush with a gun for 12 hours.
Yeah. Who among us?
Dan, it is surprisingly easy to get a weapon near this man.
Yeah. I did read that one of the streets that borders the golf course, not Mar-a-Lago, but is his because Mar-a-Lago doesn't have a golf course. So this is the one that he golfs at when he's at Mar-a-Lago.
What is he, poor?
Well, it's a beach club, right?
Whatever.
The golf club is like down the street.
Oh,
and that's where it was. One of the bordering streets of it is Gun Club Road. So, like, you know.
I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah. But the dude was caught alive. Previous last month's assassin. Was it last month? It wasn't. It was July.
It was July.
A couple months ago. The assassin from a couple months ago didn't make it off the roof.
Because I believe, oh no, Dan, I've just realized something.
What?
So that assassination attempt, I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing because I just turned in the draft of this book.
Yeah.
And I had stopped, and it was so hot. It was like 10 billion degrees. And I was outside grilling like a maniac. I was just like, no, I've done a book on a grill. And this book, I turned it in. And so every time I turn in this book, someone tries to kill Trump.
Good.
Oh, no.
There's the topic of your next book.
Oh, shit. I'm accidentally the puppeteer.
Yeah, you are.
I mean,
are.
What happens during the copy edit? That's going to be soon.
Watch out.
Yes.
All bets are off.
Both times I've turned in the
wild.
book and someone has immediately tried to kill Trump.
That's clearly the thing.
I can only tell you what's happening.
It's not correlation. That's causation right there.
That is causation.
For sure.
That's science. That's just math.
So the previous assassin didn't make it off the roof. This one, so the narrative that we have been told is that
the last guy was killed, wasn't he?
Yeah, the last guy was killed. So the narrative that we've been told. So first of all, it was that there were shots fired in the vicinity of Donald Trump originally. Mm-hmm. Turns out now those shots only came from the Secret Service. This guy never got a shot off. In fact, he never saw Trump. There was the story, at least as we are currently understanding it, and let's face facts, this story is going to change, right? Like they always do. is that an advanced Secret Service person was kind of heading out a couple holes ahead of Trump and was walking the perimeter and noticed a gun rifle front, whatever you call it, a little poly part. That's me, Dan,
the
good
barrel?
Expert of things. The poly part, yes, the barrel, thank you. Sticking out between some trees, and just started shooting. I guess that's what you do. Didn't hit the guy, so that's handy. The guy ran off out of the trees into a car and drove off, and it's only thanks to the fact that there was a passerby who had the forethought to take a photograph of the car and got the plates that they caught the guy in traffic. And he is alive. And what we know about this guy is that he's weird. He's a weird dude who has previously been arrested on gun charges. So that's always great. That God bless America, that we can still continue to get guns even after being arrested for having guns.
It's important.
Anyway, most notably and most recently, he was very visible and vocal about trying to recruit former Afghan fighters to fight in Ukraine, which he seems to have no background in.
Right.
So why that was his bag seems odd. He was interviewed by the New York Times, which as a reporter, you've got to have a real oh shit moment when his name is released and you realize you had a whole conversation with this guy a few years ago. When he was interviewed by the New York Times, he went as far as to say that the way he would get them into the Ukraine was by buying forged passports for them, which is a weird thing to admit to a news organization.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this seems like a strange series of things.
Dan, there's so many guns around Trump, so many attempted shootings or actual shootings. Yeah. It's like this guy goes to an American high school or something.
Hey-o!
That was not the joke. That was the second joke.
I like that one, though.
That one was more appropriate than
you should do some crowd work afterwards.
I'm going to warm up the crowd. So where are you from around here? What do you do for a living?
I do a podcast.
Hey, what do you do? What do you do for a job? What are you doing right now?
It's a terrible question. Look at how I just got really.
Yeah. What are you working on right now?
Can I actually tell you something? Can I break this thing for a second?
Well,
the most liberating thing ever. I mentioned back at in late July, I went to the memorial weekend for Steve Albini, the late great recording engineer and musician.
Mm-hmm.
Maureen, I have never felt more at home.
Oh yeah, those are your people.
Than in that, because anyone you say, "What are you doing now?" And then they're like, let me rattle 70 things that aren't related to each other off. And it's like, oh, and then they're like, what are you doing? It's like, well, let me go ahead and tell you 50 things that make no sense together. And everyone's just like, oh, that's rad. I'm going to check that out.
But do you all talk great. Like this? Well,
yes.
That's just a whole cacophony of.
It was
that's amazing.
Wonderful. I've never felt more among my people than right then, because every single person was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm a musician, but I also teach and I have a greeting card thing that I do. And sometimes I've got to do this, and I'm raising 6 kids and they're really into football. So now I'm into football too. Like, it was great.
Dan, because I'm a writer, sometimes you get your show, your cab or whatever, or somewhere and people are like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
I'm a writer. Oh, what do you write? Books, huh? You trying to get published? I'm published. Oh, have I heard of you? I don't know if you've heard of me. What do you write? Tell me about it. Oh, it's young adult. What? It's young adult. Is that for kids? Oh, it's a broad audience, has a large adult audience. It's really, it's really just defined by the age of the protagonist. It's really, what? Have I read anything? I don't know. I don't know what you've read. Would I have a kid? Okay. So tell me the title. What if you list the title? I wrote a bunch of books, so I mean, I could go chronologically, or the most recent's called Death at Morn. What's it about?
Oh, no.
Well, it's a murder mystery, and murder mystery for kids. It's young adult, which is different. It's protagonists are.
I'm so uncomfortable just listening to you say this.
Under 18. What else have you written? A number of books, actually. And who publishes you? I've been published by a number of houses. Currently, HarperCollins is published. I'm going to get your book. What's your name again? Maureen John. You think I'd like it? I don't know what you like. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Well, I'm going to wait, what is it again? Desert Morning House. What's it? It goes on like this, Dan.
Yeah. I have two reactions to that.
Yeah.
One is when I was in LA just a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a lift. I jumped out from family stuff to do some recording with Aquila, and I was lifting back. And it was a glorious lift ride because the guy said nothing.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And that has been largely my experience with lifts in LA, and it's wonderful. And then we got stuck in traffic. And then he was like, hey, so like, and he had been listening to music, like very inoffensive kind of electro pop stuff. And he was like, hey, yeah, what kind of music are you into? And I was like, oh, God damn it. Now we got to have a conversation here, right? And he was like, is this all right? And I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. And he's like, well, what kind of stuff do you like? I love learning what people are into. And I'm like, okay, how do I shut this down quick? Right. So I'm like, oh, I mostly I used to be kind of like a punk. And now I just listen to sad bastard music. I'm like, well, that'll quiet down. Instead, he's like, oh, like who? So I just start like rattling people off. I did not notice that he was building a playlist as I was talking. And so then suddenly, like, I think the Mountain Goats or something came on. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. And so then the rest of the drive, he had to comment on every song that would come up.
Coming up next is a new hit from the Postal Service. What was the one that was the saddest? Is it the Postal Service? Were they the saddest kind of? Was it Bon Iver? It was like the kind of, I'm so sad.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot more.
I hate that.
This is like the conversation in the cab now. But so that's thought one. Okay. I hate it. It's the worst.
Right.
It's also like Janice is a librarian, and when everyone's like, well, what's your favorite book? And it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? The thing that most reminds me of this was years ago. Janice and I were car shopping, and we went to a dealership. And we got sat down. Like, we had $0, so we were not like seriously car shopping. But
did you open your purse and a little change purse? A little
moth flies out.
Okay,
exactly.
Good.
So we sit down. It's an older gentleman, and he's like, "Well, what do you do?" And this was back when I did Punk Planet. So I was like, "Oh, I'm an editor. and a writer." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a writer too." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's great." And then, Maureen, he reaches into his drawer and he pulls out a full screenplay and he puts it in front of us and just sits there with a look of expectation on his face. And I'm like, wow, you really wrote that thing. And he's like, yeah, I did. And I'd love to hear what you think.
Oh no.
And then he sat there and me and Janice are just like, what? Okay. So like and he's just like, we're kind of stuck because we wanted to talk about cars, and then he's just staring at me, waiting for me to read a thing. So I'm like kind of looking through it. So it's a story of seems to be semi-autobiographical. Oh no. About a guy shipped off to the Vietnam War.
Oh boy.
Comes back and discovers
okay
that he's black. Yeah.
I think I'm having an asthma attack.
It was so strange and like but I think I sat there for about half an hour having to read the screenplay.
Wait, you read it?
I mean, there was nothing else to do. And he's just staring the whole time, kind of doing that like excited nod as I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, I kind of ended with a like, well, that's certainly a thing. You should keep at it.
Did you just leave or like so?
At that point, I think we left. We were like, oh, look, we gotta go. Yeah. It was a weird screenplay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That guy never sells cars. That's all he does.
That's all he does. He was an older gentleman. You could see that it was sort of just his whole bag was like, I'm going to get people to read this screenplay.
This is the thing is many of you out there are right. Here's the thing. Like, don't do this.
Yeah.
That being said, when I was getting started, did I slide over chapters to people? Fuck yeah, I did. They put immediately in the trash.
It's like that little Twitter thread about if you see someone at the Whole Foods, a director, be ready.
Yeah, be ready. Make them sit and read this right now.
Don't do that.
I'm going to watch you read it. I'm going to watch you read my work. That's my worst nightmare, Dan. Is me sliding something over me. You read this. I'm going to watch you.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch you.
And then I want your immediate feedback.
I want to know all your thoughts in real time.
Yeah. No, it's not good.
Dan, I had one, and we'll get back to it because I know we have to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
I remember one Lyft driver I had in LA when I was out there for some event, and he was like, so what do you do? And this begins, and he's like, well, I'm a professor of archaeology. And then he just gave me a lecture on archaeology.
That's awesome. So the most interesting thing about this one was that like the whole music thing was kind of awkward, right? And then at some point he was like, well, what do you do? Because he didn't ask me what I did before. And I was like, and I felt prepared for that answer this time because I was literally just coming from recording things. So I'm like, oh, I do a podcast. And then he was like, oh yeah, I like to listen to a lot of podcasts. So of course, then he was like this and that. And then he's like, well, how did you get involved in that? And he actually turned out to be very easy to chat with. Right. Like after we got through the sort of odd interrogation and it became more of a conversation. And so I was like, oh, I'm a journalist and oh, what have you written and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, well, what do you do? And Maureen, he's like, oh, well, I'm an actor and a writer, which everyone that drives a Lyft will tell you in LA.
Or they're a professor of archaeology.
And a professional wrestler.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, dude, why did you not bring this up at the beginning of this ride?
And then you're like, so where do you wrestle? What's your wrestling name? And he's like, oh, Jesus.
Literally, that's it. The tables were turned.
And then he's like,
well, it's this little thing you
I don't really want to do this.
Yeah. Like, how does it feel now?
Yeah.
Little did he know that I was putting together a video playlist of all of his matches.
Oh, well, come on. Let's go. Let's dance.
It was pretty great, though.
The last time I was in a cab, which was on my way home from the tour in the US, and someone did this, I ended up becoming really good friends with that guy. I'm gonna send his daughter a book. Like,
wow.
We ended up like having, and I was like, yeah, and tell me about your daughter. And like, I was just, so I say this, it's just that as people okay, we need to talk, Dan. Okay. Yeah. We need to refocus.
All right. Let's refocus, Maureen, because so here's the main deal.
Okay.
So somebody took a shot at Donald, or didn't take a shot, but somebody wanted to take a shot at Donald Trump 2 days ago.
Right.
And when I say that everyone seems to have responded to this with a collective shrug, including him, what I mean is that last night he was hawking a cryptocurrency.
Donald Trump was not the guy.
Donald Trump was hawking a new cryptocurrency that he and Dojo were a part of. He spent 2 hours in a Twitter space answering questions, talking a little bit about stuff, clearly having no idea what any of this was.
Yes, I think I saw some of this where
this
they said...
This new thing is called World Liberty Financial.
Christ almighty.
It is a decentralized finance project, the goal of which is to, quote, drive the mass adoption of stable coins and decentralized finance.
He doesn't know what any of that is.
No, Dojo is the main driver of this thing, and he definitely doesn't know what it is. I love it because being kind of tangentially involved in the tech world, every single part of it felt like what, a small group of people were talking about 4 years ago. And now suddenly these guys are like, we've got the hot new thing. What's the pitch, Maureen? This is the pitch as Dojo puts it. There was a time period where the Trumps, we could have picked up the phone and called any CEO of any bank and gotten a loan from anyone in the world on any project. And then we got into the political arena. We went from being people who could have been in the elite in that world to just being like totally canceled. Why that means you should buy their coin, I don't know.
I want to invest heavily.
But that's his basic pitch. Okay. Trump goes a different direction. This is Trump on the stablecoin. Quote, you're going to be happy and you're going to love your crypto. And as long as you have crypto, you're happy.
I believe I heard some of this very interview, Dan. It was on a Twitter space, and they were asking him more questions. They're like, so tell us more about your crypto. And he said, the thing about AI is, and then he began to talk about how everything was going to be AI. Yeah. So he has heard two words. He's heard AI and he's heard crypto.
Yeah.
And now he's mad-libbing them into sentences.
Yeah, definitely. Meanwhile, this is just sort of another way for them to get a quick buck because their media company has crashed significantly. And in fact, they just spiked it. They just spiked the stock price because Trump should be able to sell his stock soon. But the big problem is that the stock that used to be trading at like $90 a share is currently trading at like $10 a share. So he doesn't have a lot of money in it. And the price has been going down, especially because it's coming close to when he can actually sell shares. And people are like, well, he's going to get out and this whole thing's going to fucking collapse. So he had to this week say he wasn't selling shares, which, take that shit to the bank, right? So then a bunch of people bought his stock again. But anyway, they're just all about manipulating currency. And I'm pretty excited to see them launching into 4 year ago scams.
We love it. We love a hustler. We love a scam artist.
Yeah. Meanwhile, as you pointed out, Maureen, the election in terms of actual voting has begun. We are fully in the chute now. We have barely more than a month and a bit to go. New York Times most recent polling averages has Harris, everyone seems to agree that Harris has opened up a real lead now at the national level. Post-debate, she seems to have bumped up. But national polls don't really matter. What we're really talking about is like 7 states, 6-7 states, something like that, that are going to decide the election. The New York Times averages this week have Harris barely ahead in the majority of them. They have Harris ahead by less than 1 in Georgia, Trump ahead by less than 1 in Arizona, but then Harris less than 1 in North Carolina, Harris less than 1 in Pennsylvania, Harris up by 1 in Michigan, by 2 in Nevada, by 3 in Wisconsin. So you're talking about, the Wisconsin one maybe is just outside the margin of error, but probably not. All of these are within the margin of error. Anything that is less than 1 is, likely you're just seeing noise. And one of the ways to know that is because the real killer polling averages have different results. They have Trump up by less than 1 in Pennsylvania, Harris up by 1.5 or so in Wisconsin, Trump ahead by less than 1 in Arizona, Trump ahead by less than 1 in Georgia, Harris ahead by like 2 in Michigan, and Harris ahead by like 1 in Nevada. And Trump ahead by less than 1 in North Carolina. So who fucking knows?
Who's going to win, Dan?
As close as it can possibly get.
Nothing can go wrong now.
Nothing can go wrong now.
Dan, I think he's going to lose, but what if he wins?
I mean, that's a good question. I also think he's going to lose, but what if he wins?
Dan, the fact that we have planned to be at Disneyland is the smartest thing we have ever done.
So I think that that's probably worth addressing because we have mentioned this a few times, but it is official, folks.
Yeah, we've talked about it for 8 years.
Maureen and I are going to be at Disneyland. That's the one in Los Angeles on Election Day.
Yes, we are.
It's all booked.
Yes.
It's happening for real.
Yes, we have airline tickets. We have hotel. We've put it in the calendar. It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. So we are going to be there on Election Day. You are certainly invited to join us. on election day. If you want to be at Disneyland and we can all hang out a little bit, that would be fun.
You have to get yourself there.
But yeah, you got to get yourself, and it costs a fucking fortune. So my recommendation would be,
I had no. Let me just say this, because I handled I love plan. Like, I'm good at planning trips because I have to do it a lot. So I am a careful saver of miles and points.
Yeah.
So I booked us our hotel, and I was like, yeah, I saved us $500. Like, I was really happy.
Yeah.
And then Dan's like, great. So I've got the prices on the Disney tickets, and that's 4 adults and a child that are going.
Yeah.
And my honest guess, because he's like, it's going to be really expensive. And my honest guess, and this is for 2 days.
Yeah, for 2 days.
2 days, 4 adults and 1 child. My honest guess was $800.
Yeah, you were like, well, a lot? Okay, 800. My God, no, double that shit. It's even more than that, I think.
I believe it was 1,800.
Yeah, it's insane. So this is to say,
we want to thank the Patreon, because 8 years of work has paid for 2 days of Disneyland tickets.
But we will be there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to encourage anyone to spend a great deal of money. That's the thing that I don't want to do. But we are going to be there on election day. So,
if you're local, if you have passes, or if you've always just dreamed of going, we will have a Dole Whip together if you like. We could all go in the Haunted Mansion together,
which will, much to your dismay, be in the Nightmare Before Christmas mode.
I know,
the Haunted Mansion holiday. You were really hoping for the OG
standard.
Yeah. But it is in fact happening, folks. The long promised trip to Disney that Maureen and I were taking when Hillary Clinton was going to win the election.
We joked in 2016, and here it is in 2024 as we enter year 9 and the 3rd Trump run. We're going to Disney World. What are we going to do on year 18?
What?
Did I just blow your mind?
I don't like it.
What are we going to do on year 18?
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Cruise.
Okay.
No.
Sure.
No.
Year
18, we actually buy the compound.
Okay. That's a long time from now. Maybe we'll be done.
No.
Okay.
I think year 10, we actually start buying investing heavily in the compound. Because if
there won't be a lot to invest because it's all being spent on Disney.
So that's true. This is going to be more personal funds to buy our houses, but it's if he wins, I do think probably compound is the way to go.
Let's not go with if he wins.
Well,
I every now and then I'm like,
emotional preparedness is important.
We're going to Disney, which seems great until you think like, what if that's like the worst news and then Disney's ruined?
Disney won't be ruined.
I hope not. Anyway, Says Who is made possible by you. That is through your support of our Patreon at patreon.com/sayswho. That's our Patreon, where the long-awaited part 2 of the Stanley Cup discussion hits this Sunday.
And our first video episode ever
is up. Yeah, you can
and that's
see
not even
me
a video
looking
episode.
Very blue.
That's just us watching shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, Dan, I still think,
I
stand by this.
Yeah.
As a kind of like Patreon challenge.
Yeah.
We do a video episode where we watch the first Twilight movie together, and I can talk you through it.
Yeah.
Come on. People want this.
I mean, do they though?
Oh, they want it so bad. A Halloween special.
I mean, okay. I mean, to be fair, we do now. I do understand how to do all of that.
There you go. Halloween special.
I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, point is patreon.com/sayswho. Our theme music was performed by Ted Leo, who is out on the road right now. You should see him play because he is one of the world's great performers. Our logo is designed by Darth. You can contact us at Says Who Podcast on Threads or at Says Who at omfg.town on Mastodon. You can email at that is HEY at sayswhopodcast.com. You can always join the discussion on Facebook at /group/sayswhovians. Our Facebook group is moderated by Janice Dillard. You can join the fan-run Discord server at tinyurl.com/sayswhodiscord. Whatever you do, spread the word, subscribe, leave stars and reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you are listening and if you are leaving stars and reviews, go ahead and do that with Rebel Spirit too. I would greatly appreciate it. And whatever you do, you can join us next Wednesday, September 25th, for our very next episode from my basement in Chicago. I am Dan Sinker.
I'm never, ever going to recover from you trying to buy a car and the guy handing you a movie script about that as you described it and then making you read it in front of him.
It was a wild ride.
Everything is still tight in here. Like, I think you actually induced an asthma attack there for a minute.
Yeah.
I am from the greatest city on earth where we didn't even bring up the fact that the head of police is, I think they just confiscated all his phones and he may be arrested. And also the head of the fire fire department, who apparently they're also about to arrest him, I think. And he drives around town in a Lamborghini, which is something I didn't know either.
I mean, who doesn't?
It's all happening here in New York City.
I for a long time had pretty regular work that led me to Miami. And there was a guy there who every time he'd be like, dude, and he was like a skateboard hipster dude, but his big joke was like, dude, the next time you come, I'm renting an orange Lambo and we're going to drive around. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Like, I will totally do that. And then finally one time I came and he was like, okay, I looked into what it costs to rent an orange Lambo and I'm not doing that. And I was like, that is also fine. But what fire chief doesn't drive around in a Lamborghini, Maureen?
I mean, yeah. So are both the police and the fire department heads?
Y'all are doing it.
We are absolutely crushing it.
You are crushing it.
And by it, I mean rights and social services.
Yeah, you know.
I am Maureen, great city in the world. I am Maureen Johnson.
And this has been Says Who?
9 years.